It is a Monday edition of the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. It is, almost lost my mic there. It is Monday, December the 12th, 2022, and the Browns have dropped to 5-8. Their playoff chances hanging by a thread. There's virtually no chance they're going to make it, but they have not been eliminated. We'll talk about their loss to the Bengals for the first time in years, and we'll break down what the Browns still have to play for in the final 4 games of the season, what they have to prove, what they have to show. All of that coming up right here in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull. But before we get going, I want to remind you that today's podcast is brought to you by BetOnline. BetOnline has you covered this season with more props, odds, and lines than ever before. BetOnline, where the game starts. And we start next in the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
Podcast is not for the faint of heart.
And I do think it's time for the Browns to move on.
It's not for those who ride the fence.
He's proven nothing.
But if you're looking for someone who tells it like it is about Cleveland sports,
everybody does fandom their way.
You've come to the right place.
I don't think he's any good.
It's time for the Bullpen with Adam the Bull.
We are back, and so the Browns' 2-game winning streak comes to an end. They fall to the Bengals and drop to 5-8 on the season. They have virtually no chance of making the playoffs. I will tell you that I did look at the New York Times playoff predictor this morning. If the Patriots lose tonight, then the Browns have an 8% chance to make the playoffs. If they win out, or not an 8% chance to make the playoffs, an 8% chance to make the playoffs if they win out. If the Patriots win tonight, the Browns would have a 4% chance to make the playoffs even if they won out. We understand that that's not happening. It's not realistic. Now, you always want to try to make it. Miracles do happen. Bizarre things happen. I don't want to call it a miracle. Bizarre things happen, so you never know. You always want to play to win to some degree. I mean, not to some degree, to any degree. You're always playing to win. However, the realities of the season have changed, and after losing this game yesterday to fall to 5-8, and, now it's really the focus is about preparing this quarterback and this team for next year. Deshaun Watson was 26 of 42, 276 yards, 1 touchdown, and 1 interception. He averaged 6.6 yards per attempt, which is not very good. Overall, yes, Deshaun Watson looked better than he did in week 1. It would be impossible for him to look worse. However, there's still a long way to go for Deshaun Watson. He's just not playing well enough. He's not playing well enough. You see, what we talked about all season with Jacoby Brissett was, well, when you have Watson, the Browns didn't lose many games because of Jacoby Brissett. He played pretty good football. But the constant refrain from people like me and from specifically me was, well, Deshaun Watson will be able to overcome the other problems on the team, whether it be the defense, which has been a problem all year, the special teams, which has been a problem for a lot of the year, or the offensive line, which has been a problem of late, that Deshaun Watson will be able to overcome. Now, I thought there'd be some rust for Deshaun Watson. On the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show, I know that Jay and I both thought there'd be rust, Jason as well. Some of the other guys didn't think it would be as big a deal. But nobody could have predicted this. I mean, Deshaun Watson was a total 0 in his first game, and he was still not very good in game 2. Again, at least he looked like an NFL quarterback in game 2, but he had more moments in game 2 than game 1 where there were moments of specialness, but definitely not enough. He missed some throws. The interception was bad. There were guys open at times. He was hesitant in his decision making. Now, is there a chance that Deshaun Watson will never get back to being the quarterback he was? Anything is possible. I don't believe there's any I'll say there's a 99.9% chance in my mind that that's not the case. He is only 27 years old. In fact, he just turned 27 recently. There's no reason to believe with his skill set that he will not at some point, and probably not till next year, unfortunately. There's no reason to believe at some point that he won't get back to the star quarterback he was. I have no doubts in that. I say 99.9%, but it's not like I dropped it a 0.1% recently. You always have to account. You want to say 99%, whatever it is. There's always a possibility. The only thing that has changed is I don't know, maybe the possibility of there's some mental hurdles that he is unable to get over. But from a pure physical standpoint, I have no reason to believe that eventually Deshaun Watson will turn it around. However, he was awful again in his first game. He was not very good yesterday. Again, it was better, but he missed way too many plays. He wasn't throwing the ball on the ground like he did against Houston. But and give the Bengals some credit. Obviously, the Bengals defense is very good. They're getting better as the season goes along. They were completely healthy, unlike the Bengals offense. The Bengals defense is 100% healthy right now, except for their number one corner, but he's been out for the year for a couple of weeks. But besides that, I mean, they got a young cornerback who's really stepping up, Cam Taylor-Britt, who made some big plays. He was a second-round pick this past year. So their defense is playing great. DJ Reader, I mentioned it all last week, how important he is to the Bengals' run defense, and obviously he was a monster yesterday. So you give the defense some credit. But Deshaun Watson's just not playing well enough. And with the defense not being very good, and with the offensive line being the worst we've seen in a couple of years, he's unable to overcome it. And we can make all the excuses we want. He's rusty, he's this, is that. These things are all true. But nevertheless, he didn't play well enough to win. That's the bottom line. Nobody gets a complete pass. We understand. Now, if I'm gonna turn this into, well, he stinks because he hasn't played 2 games. No, I don't agree with that. But has he played well enough in these 2 games? Of course not. The Browns have 1 touchdown in 2 games with him. It's not enough. It's not playing well enough. And there's no reason to believe at this point that he is going to play well enough consistently this year. I think he will continue to get better as the season goes along. But and the Browns, you look at the rest of their schedule, they're going to have to win out to finish over 500. I think that's unlikely at this point. The way Deshaun Watson has struggled. Now, the defense, the defense did some decent things. I'll get into the defense in a minute. But overall, it's not good enough. And Joe Woods, we'll get into that a little bit too. And Kevin Stefanski, you got some criticism for him as well. But you look at the rest of their schedule, the Ravens will probably be without Lamar Jackson again next week. Their defense is playing very well. I do think the Browns can win that game. The next 2 games are at home against the Ravens and Saints. Those are definitely winnable games. The game on New Year's Day at the Commanders will be tough. They're playing good football. And then at Pittsburgh to end it. But the odds of the Browns winning all 4, I mean, they're all winnable games, but they're all losable games. All 4 of these games, I mean, my guess is the Browns are a 3-point underdog to the Ravens this week. Let me take a look. Let's see what the early lines are here. And my guess is they'll be anywhere from a 5-point dog to a 5-point favorite in all these games. Opening lines. The Browns are actually a 3-point favorite against the Ravens this week. Interesting. Remember, they play Saturday afternoon. Some other lines this week. Browns 3-point favorite at home against the Ravens. The Chiefs are a 14-point favorite at the Texans. Man, the Texans almost won. I'll get to that. Carolina Panthers a 1.5-point favorite at home against the Steelers. And the Bengals are a 3.5-point road favorite in Tampa, which is another interesting game. Okay, so there you go. Browns are actually a 3-point favorite. I was way off on that one. And so and the Browns will be favored probably against New Orleans the following week. And the game at Washington, they'll probably only be a slight underdog. And the game at Pittsburgh, if the Browns have won 3 in a row, they'll probably be favored maybe. It depends what Pittsburgh's doing. Steelers with a miserable loss to the Ravens yesterday, even though they're back, even though the Ravens were to their 3rd-string quarterback. So it does appear both the Browns and the Steelers will finish under 500. For the Browns, unfortunately, it's a common occurrence. For the Steelers, it'd be the first time in a long time that they finished under 500. but they will finish under 500 unless they win out. So the reality is that in these last 4 games, 2 at home, will be Watson's first home game Saturday, and then 2 on the road to end it. It's all about Deshaun Watson learning the offense, then having a full offseason program, then staying out of further trouble the entire next year, at least. And hopefully the offense will look great next year. During this week, I will talk more about long-term about that. I will just say this, that Kevin Stefanski, if he doesn't get fired at the end of the – listen, I don't want Kevin Stefanski to be fired. Have I lost some faith in him this season? Yes, I have. Am I out? Have I given up on Kevin Stefanski? I have not. I'm not as confident in him as I was going into the season. I don't think he's done a great job coaching this year. I do think the Browns should give him one more year. If the Browns did fire him, I could understand that. With Jimmy Haslam, you never know. I don't trust him, nor do I trust him to get it right the next time, since he's gotten it wrong every time if we're firing Stefanski. I would give Kevin Stefanski one more season. If he does, though, he is going to be on the super hot seat to start next year. And I know it's a long way away, and nobody wants to hear it. It's 9 months from now. But the Browns better get off to a good start next year, or he's not going to make it through the season. That's very simple. Nor should he. But his job will, at the very least, be on the line next year, and it could be on the line in these final 4 games. If the Browns completely crater and finish with 6 or 7 wins, 7 wins or less, that's bad. You know, if they win 6 or 7 end the season, okay, will be a different story. They finish 9-8. We'll see how the rest of the season goes, but I don't think Kevin Stefanski's job is a certainty for next year. I will say, in this game specifically, the play early in the game where the Browns went for it on 4th down, it was their first drive. They go for it on 4th down. You know me, I always want to go for it on 4th down. I always want to go for it on 4th and 1. Now, I am very rarely field goal guy. I would have been fine if Stefanski had tried the field goal from the 25. I would have been fine. I thought it could, I'm usually not like, let's just get the points on the board. I think in this game, it had some merit to get points on the board, even though the numbers say go for it. Ultimately, I would have gone for it, but I can understand the people arguing to kick it in this case. I'm usually against those people, the field goal truthers. In this case, I get it. I'm fine with him going for it. The play call was awful. I understand, Jason Lloyd reported in his column, if you read his column in The Athletic, I don't know if he put it out last night or this morning, but in his column he said that supposedly Jacoby Brissett had the ability to switch to a run. They probably should have run the ball. Now, the Browns weren't running it effectively, but this is early. We didn't know that. Maybe it's a different story. Who knows? Jacoby Brissett has been very effective with the quarterback sneak. And if the play, I understand that Brissett had the option to go to a run play. However, if the plan initially is to throw the ball, then you have to have Deshaun Watson in the game. I don't understand that. Plus, I understand Brissett's great at the quarterback sneak, but Deshaun Watson, he could fake it, try to run outside. I mean, I don't know. He's just, he's the better quarterback. I understand that Deshaun Watson had struggled in the first game. But the Browns had been moving the ball in this drive, and I don't understand taking Watson out and then throwing a deep ball into the corner, a low percentage play. I didn't understand that. I thought there was some fair criticism of Kevin Stefanski's use of timeouts in the first half, which eventually led to them not getting an opportunity. Now, you never know. The Bengals may have played that last drive differently had the Browns had timeouts. So, who knows? But ultimately, they didn't have the timeouts, and they didn't have time to get into field goal range. It would have been interesting. You saw Cade York wanted to do it. It would have been interesting had the Browns attempted a 67-yard field goal from Cade York. Deshaun Watson did buy time nicely to get a throw into the end zone to try the Hail Mary, but it got knocked down, obviously. And then the second half, obviously, the Bengals scored that touchdown. The penalties were awful. There's no excuse. Obviously, the Bengals' offense was scuffling, as it often has in the last couple of years, against the Browns, the only team the Bengals' offense scuffles against. Now, we'll get more into that. I'm going to take a break. When I come back, I want to talk about the Bengals' offense against the Browns' defense. I also got to get into, well, before we do that, Nick Chubb has struggled to get going the last 2 weeks. We can scream about running the ball we want. The Browns couldn't run the ball. The Bengals' defensive line is very good. Having DJ Reader in there this game, which they didn't have him the last time they played, is a massive difference. He shut down everything down there. And you see what a difference an elite defensive tackle makes. And even B.J. Hill, who's the Bengals' second defensive tackle, is way better than anybody the Browns have. And it makes a huge difference. And you saw it there yesterday. The Browns' offensive line's a mess. The tackles are playing bad football. Their center, fourth-string center, stinks. So even if you're getting good guard play, and even Teller's been up and down, it's not enough. The Browns can't run the ball effectively right now. It's a problem. They can't win if they can't run, even with Deshaun Watson, especially the way he's playing right now. But take a break. When I come back, I'll get into the Browns' defense against the Bengals' offense. There's some interesting things here. BetOnline.net, your number one source for your sports betting info, stats, news, and analysis. Get the latest odds and trends for every professional and amateur league out there, from football to basketball to soccer and esports. We've got it all at BetOnline.net. And if you love sports podcasts, you can find those at BetOnline as well. We're always the fastest and easiest way to get your betting fix. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more. BetOnline, where the game starts. Okay. Coming up, by the way, on Friday, my man TA. Everybody knows Cleve Ta on Twitter. He's a great follow. He's an analytics guru. And he's going to join me for the first time ever on the podcast on Friday. Looking forward to that. So we preview Week 15 in the NFL. Help us break down all the games. Okay. Now, let's go to the other side of the ball. The defense played very well early. And there were some key factors here. Not excuses, factors. The Browns actually had a huge advantage because the Bengals were without their second, by the time we got into the middle of the first possession, the Bengals were without their second and third receivers. T. Higgins had a hamstring tweak during the week. He was questionable. He was active. I think he got in there for one play. Tyler Boyd, their number 3 receiver, who's obviously very good, dislocates a finger on, I think, the second play of the game, so he's out. So essentially those guys didn't play the whole game. And the Bengals' number 4, their fourth, most used pass catcher, Hayden Hurst, their starting tight end, was injured. He didn't play in the game. So the Bengals were without their, pretty much the whole game, without their second, third, and fourth best pass catchers. And it showed early in the game. The Bengals could not get anything going. It's something we've seen. For whatever reason, the Browns have done a good job. The Bengals offense, even in this win, the Bengals didn't play well offensively. And the Bengals offense, with Joe Burrow, going back to in the 3 games Joe Burrow's played against the Browns the last 2 years, it's been 3 of his. Joe Burrow in the last 2 years has probably played 5 or 6 games that weren't great, or weren't at least good. And 3 of those against the Browns, including yesterday, he didn't play well. Now, he played well from the second half, from the middle of the second quarter on. He played, pretty well. But the first 20 minutes of the game, 25 minutes of the game, he was lousy. And he wasn't getting much help. The Bengals' offensive line, which has been significantly better for the past 2 months, the only 2 bad games they've played since September are against the Browns, which is so weird because outside of Myles Garrett, nobody else has been a big factor. They got a lot of pressure on Burrow early. They did adjust, and for the middle of the second quarter on, they did not get much pressure on Burrow. But the turning point of this game, of course, now we never know what would have happened had this not happened. But the turning point of the game was the 12:54 mark of the second quarter. It was a scoreless game. Neither team was doing much offensively. The Browns had that first drive that we talked about where they got stopped on 4th down. The Bengals hadn't moved the ball at all. 4th and 15 at their own 17-yard line for the Bengals. They drop back to punt, and in an all-time stupid play, Tony Fields just basically tackles the punter. That was one of the most egregious roughing the punter kicks calls you've ever seen. I don't know what he was thinking there. Like, that just can't happen. It wasn't borderline. I mean, he crushed him. Terribly stupid play. So instead of the Browns getting the ball back in probably good field position, since the Bengals were punting from Christmas was about at his own 10-yard line or so. The Bengals get a first down at their own 32, right? They get the ball moving again. They still can't, I should say, they still can't move the ball because on first down, P. Ryan, no gain. Second down, Burrow gets sacked. It would have been a 3rd and 18 at the Bengals 24. So probably they're going to have to punt again, except on that play, Isaiah Thomas, illegal use of the hands. There were a ton of penalties in this game. I actually thought the refs, to me, all the calls on both teams were good calls. I know there were a lot of penalties and it was frustrating. I thought they were all fair calls. I'm sure some people disagree. But the hands to the face was clearly a good call, and that was a killer, an unnecessary, a stupid penalty by Thomas. And so instead of being 3rd and 18 at the Bengals 24, it's again a first down, this time at their own 37. First play, again, incomplete pass to Jamar Chase, penalty on Denzel Ward, defensive pass interference. Again, it was a good call. All three of these penalties were good calls, but they were self-inflicted wounds. Now, in this one's case, Ward's in a tough spot one-on-one. I thought Joe Woods, I got to tell you, I thought Joe Woods, who's been awful this season for the most part, this was about as egregious as he gets. Players are complaining. You can't, listen, Denzel Ward's a good corner, but he's having not a great season. Jamar Chase is not going to be shut down one-on-one. There's really no corner in the league that can consistently shut him down. You can't man up on him one-on-one all the time, and they did that way too often, and that's what happened on this play, and that's why Jamar Chase was the only, the Bengals were using deep bench. They're using their backup tight end, who's mostly a blocker, and their 4th and 5th receivers. Yeah, Mixon and P. Ryan are solid in the passing game, but you're talking about 3 of your top 4 receivers are out, and the other guys are just afterthoughts. And so Chase was the only the only real threat in the passing game, and they didn't double team him much, which is insane. It's insane. I don't know what Joe Woods is thinking in this. This is just crazy. So now the pass interference. So now we have a roughing the kicker, an illegal use of the hands, and a pass interference. So instead of a punt and the Browns having the ball 0-0, probably around their own 40, maybe even the 50-yard line. Instead, the Bengals now have it 1st and 10 after those 3 penalties at the 30-yard line. That got the offense going. 3 run plays, including a scramble by Joe Burrow on 3rd down, and then a beautiful pass to Jamar Chase in the end zone. Chase didn't even see it coming. Last second, he turns around. Browns do have a methodical drive to get a field goal after that, but the Bengals come right back. And they cap off the drive with a 6-yard run by Samaje P. Ryan. On this drive, there was a big defensive hold. There was another big penalty on this drive. So the Bengals were moving the ball early on this drive. It's 7-3 now at this point, right? They're moving the ball early in this drive, but after getting a couple of first downs, it's 3rd and 10 at the 47. Joe Burrow is sacked. Once again, the Bengals are going to have to punt. But there's a penalty. There is a penalty on the Bengals, but there's also a penalty, defensive holding, on Ronnie Harrison. The penalty's offset, which is really works for the Bengals because instead of it being 4th and 17 at the Bengal 40, it's still 3rd and 10 at the 47. He hits Taylor for a long pass, 34 yards, Trent Taylor, and that's it. They get to the 19. Eventually, Samaje P. Ryan runs it in, which gives the Bengals a 13-3 lead, and that would be all they would need. But the touchdown run by P. Ryan, that was so weird. What was Clowney doing on that play? He crashes in. P. Ryan is kind of stopped at the line of scrimmage, but he keeps fighting, and Clowney just walks past the play, P. Ryan pops out of it, goes back, and runs around the right side for a touchdown. Had Clowney stayed with the play, I mean, he should have tackled him. He just gave up as if he thought P. Ryan was down. That was weird. And a lot of the guys on defense just kind of quit on that play. It was very strange. The Browns had a chance at the end of the first half, obviously, but couldn't score. And, the defense did get an interception in the second half on a tip ball. But from the middle of this, once those penalties kind of caught up with the Browns, it just kind of all came apart for them there. And the Bengals win it 23-10. That's the final score. All right, I'll take one more break. I'm going to come back. I'll give you a prediction for Monday Night Football between the Patriots and I forgot who the Patriots are playing. Who the hell are the Patriots playing? Oh, the Cardinals. Couldn't even think of it. All right, so we'll get to that. All right, that's coming up next right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. All right, let's see. I'm trying to remember. I got to go through all my picks, see how I did. I had the Jets. They covered, I think. I think the line was 8.5, so I think they barely covered. I did take the Bengals with the points. I picked the Cowboys to cover. They didn't. They almost lost that game. The Texans had a great chance of winning that game. They really did, but the Cowboys did put it away in the end. I think I had the Lions. They're playing really well. I give Dan Campbell credit. I thought he was one of these dopey meatheads that would never do anything. Give them credit. They're playing some good football. They got a shot to make the playoffs. I can't remember some of these. I did have the Giants covering, which they didn't. I picked the Steelers. I lost that one. The Chiefs didn't cover. I think I had the 49ers. Nice win by the Panthers over the Seahawks. They got a shot to make the playoffs. Some really, the AFC South and the NFC South are both awful. The Titans are completely falling apart. They are not a good football team, but they still have a 2-game lead because the rest of that division stinks. Jacksonville did win. They beat Tennessee. So they got a shot. We'll see, but Tennessee is going to be locked into that. Whoever wins the South is going to be in the 4 seed, have a home game, and they'll be a big underdog in the first round against the top wildcard team, which will probably be either the Bengals or the Ravens. In the NFC South, even worse, all 4 teams are under 500. Tampa Bay stinks. I don't care what anybody says. Tom Brady is not the same player. How about the Carolina Panthers? With they ran the ball like 1,000 times. Believe it or not, the Panthers control their own destiny. That division from first, the Buccaneers are 6-7. The Saints are in last at 4-9. There's a 2-game difference. Any of those teams can still win the division. The only teams that have been eliminated from the playoffs are the Broncos, the Texans, and the Bears. That's it. Everybody's still alive with 4 weeks to go, except for those 3 teams. Now, obviously, the Colts, the Steelers, but I can't even write off the Colts because their division is so bad. The Steelers and Bengals, obviously, big-time long shots. Same for the Raiders and the Jaguars. Well, not the Jaguars, again, because of their division. In the NFC, the Panthers, the Falcons, and the Saints all got a shot. The Cardinals are probably done. The Rams will probably both get eliminated this week. The Lions right now, the 7 seed in the NFC. Well, the Commanders and the Giants are both 7-5-1 for the 6 and 7 seed, and then you have the Seahawks who are 7-6, but they're cratering, and the Lions who are 6-7 and playing well. I think the Lions got a really good shot to make the playoffs. I can't believe I'm saying that, but they have 4 games left at the Jets. Now 3 of them are on the road. They're at the Jets, who are not playing, not very good. At Carolina, Bears at home, at Green Bay. I mean, Detroit, the way they're playing, they've won 5 of 6. They probably need to go 3-1. If they go 3-1, they'll probably make the playoffs. All right, tonight, Patriots and Cardinals. Don't love either team right now. Cardinals are an amazing 1-6 at home, which is just stunning. They're 3-2 on the road and 1-6 at home. Doesn't make any sense. Patriots 3-3 at home, 3-3 on the road. Patriots are a slight favorite in this one. I actually like the Cardinals at home in this game For the first time, for only the second time this year, second time this year, they'll play with their top two receivers, DeAndre Hopkins and Marquise Brown. And I just don't like the way Mac Jones is playing. I don't like the Cardinals very much. I don't like either of these teams. But I'll take the Cardinals coming off a bye, long time off, to win this game. Probably a close game, but I'll take the Cardinals at home. I don't feel great about it either way, but there you go. All right, thanks for joining me on this Monday edition of the podcast. Make sure you subscribe to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show on YouTube. Click the alert bell, and you'll find out whenever the podcast comes out, whenever breaking news comes out, we'll have everything for you. Please consider becoming a member, $4.99 per month, to get bonus content in addition to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Check me out on Twitter at Adam the Bull, and my website, adamthebull.com, or on Cameo at Adam the Bull. I'll talk to you tomorrow. Where else but right here in the bullpen with Adam the Bull. See ya.